Hey everybody, Tommy Norman with the Nashville Blues and Roots Alliance, here with Frog the Blues Cat, and we've got a great interview for you today. I talked to Gemma, who goes by Guitar Gem online, and she's from Australia. She is 12 years old and already playing guitar, writing her own songs and singing. She came here to Nashville to record, but she's also been playing in Memphis, did some tour dates down in Clarksdale, Mississippi. Going to put that first single out pretty soon, headed back to Australia, but hopefully coming back to Nashville to start really get into the music scene here. We have a great conversation about what it's like to be a young blues musician in Australia, what it was like to come over into America and how the differences are and things like that. It's really fun. As always, if you are not a member of Blues and Roots Alliance, please go to bluesandroots.org, sign up. It's $25 for an artist membership or a lifetime, for a year membership. Lifetime, that'd be great. But a year membership, and that goes to paying for things like me doing these videos and the Blues in Schools program we're starting up, and things like expenses for sending our bands to an International Blues Challenge, which we actually won this year. Well, I say we, the band we submitted, Piper and the Hard Times, won it. We want to send another great band and another great solo duo and a youth act this year. We try to cover all their expenses, and so a lot of the money you give us goes towards that. And now, let's have a great conversation with Guitar Gem. Hey everybody, Tommy Norman with the Nashville Blues and Roots Alliance. I'm here with Gem. Thank you so much for sitting down with us. I sure appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I know a lot's been going on. I know you've been doing a lot on this trip. So first of all, let's let everybody know, where are you from? Because you're not from around these parts.
No, I'm from Australia. It's the Central Coast, like about an hour and a half away from Sydney. That's where most people would know it from.
Okay. And so you guys have made, is this your first time here in the States?
First time here in the States.
Okay. And you guys went to Memphis first.
Memphis first.
How was Memphis?
It was very good. We stayed in a very nice place. And we were pretty close from the from Beale Street. Mm-hmm. And we ate some southern barbecue.
Did you have some ribs?
Yes, we had ribs every single day.
That's what you do. So, and I know did you play some while you were in Memphis, or did that wait until you got to Clarksdale?
I didn't play a lot when I was in Memphis, but yeah, mostly in Clarksdale.
Okay, so then you went down to Clarksdale, and you had a couple of gigs lined up, but you also just kind of got up and jammed with some people. Tell me a little bit about what you were doing down there.
So originally that was the first time we were supposed to be coming to America. I was coming for the juke joint, but yes, Adrian and Carla, who I was staying with, they invited us over, and we get invites all the time, but it was the most viable invite. Right. So we stayed with them, and I was originally there for the juke joint, but I did go up and play with a couple people. Okay, and you did Ground Zero, the Ground Zero Club, and you did Reds and a couple of places around there, all the good spots of where the blues was born. What was that like, playing in, versus playing in Australia? What's the difference in a crowd? The crowd's a lot more interactive, and they're generally happy to be there. Like a lot of the times in Australia, they're not that excited to be there, and they're not that happy.
People are just unhappy in Australia. Everything's trying to kill you. But I get, most people, I'm guessing what you're saying is, like, you're usually playing at something, maybe it's a blues festival, maybe it's not, maybe people are coming there to see, all sorts of different music. Where there, those are blues people who want to see blues music.
Exactly, that's what I said.
Now we're going to get all these comments from Australian people. We'll take care of that. So you've got these crowds, they're all interactive. Does that kind of elevate your playing, you think, when you get a crowd like that?
It makes it a lot more fun.
And what about, so I've seen you online, and I know you played to a lot of backing tracks sometimes and then started really working with a band. Is the band that you played with there like you've never met those guys before, or is that? And so how was that playing with a new band?
Well, I do that in Australia sometimes, so I just hop up with bands. I open for a lot of people, so normally after I open and at the end of the gig, I hop up with them.
Gotcha.
So I play with lots of different bands, not in the band, but just like 1 or 2 songs.
Sure.
And it's pretty flexible. Then you never really know what song you're gonna play, but they just say what key the song's in, how many bars, and
Right.
just figure it out.
Okay. What are some of your favorites to play?
Well, my favorite right now is my new original that I wrote. Yes, it's called So They Say. I'm recording on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
Yes, that's my favorite one to play because it's on the slide, which I just recently learned about 4 months ago maybe.
Okay. Nice.
And I like playing on my electric too. I like Pride and Joy, Steve Ray Vaughan, Tommy Emmanuel stuff.
Okay, yeah. That's right. We didn't talk about Tommy Emmanuel, another great Australian, heck of a player, really good player. So let's talk about how you got into this. So first of all, let everybody know, how old are you?
12.
12. And already, hitting the stage and recording. It's fantastic. When did you start playing?
I started playing when I was about 8, but I actually started playing when I was 9. So I had a guitar, but I wasn't just really doing anything because I was 8 and I wanted to play with butterflies.
Okay.
I still do.
That's fine. You should get a guitar with a butterfly on it. Or a butterfly-shaped guitar, even better. So what got you started? Are you in a musical family?
No.
Okay. So you're sitting there, you're 8 years old, there's butterflies all around, and then somehow you get into playing guitar and playing blues music. What starts that?
So I had a teacher that told me that I was picking it up a lot faster, and then I went to another teacher, and he told me that if I learnt surf rock, I lived like 10 minutes from the beach, so he told me to learn surf rock because in that genre it's very precise and there's not really a lot of room to, well there is, but you can't really make mistakes in it.
Right.
So it has to be perfect to be in order to sound right.
Sure.
So you learn lots of skills from that. But then it kind of morphed into the blues because I now didn't have to play exactly as the record was, and I could play more and express myself in the blues. That's why I moved over to it.
So you like improvising a lot more and playing kind of what you feel at the time.
Yeah, I do take inspiration from the song and I use the licks, but I also like adding my own spin to it.
Okay. And so you talked about you like Steve Ray Vaughan. Who are some of the other blues guys that you really get into?
My favorites are Stevie Ray Vaughan, Tommy Emmanuel, B.B. King, Freddie King, Albert King.
All the kings.
All the kings, the 3 kings.
All right. So you start playing at 9, you start playing out, and I've seen some of the videos. When you were playing out, I saw you kind of skiffling a little bit, doing, going out by yourself. Is that how you started, or did you start getting into bands immediately?
I kind of do, I do solo gigs.
Okay.
Because there's lots of drummers in Australia, but bassists don't exist.
All right.
I don't know where they all went. They just...
So any bassists out there need a job, go to Australia. You got plenty of jobs. All right. You can play with all the unhappy Australians. Got it. So you played a lot of the backing tracks, but then also finding bands where you could.
Yes, but have you ever heard of Minnie Marks?
I have not.
So she's an Australian artist and she's a solo band. She's wonderful. She gets me up sometimes to play, and she has this little kick drum. Is it called a kick drum set?
Farmer foot drums is what they call it.
A farmer foot drums.
Right.
And you have it on the ground and you kind of like drum with your feet.
Play drum sets she's got that you can use with your feet.
Yeah.
Yep, so she does that and she plays guitar, she does slide. She really inspired me to start learning slide.
Right.
So she plays slide and she sings all at the same time. She sounds really like a full band. You should definitely go check her out. But I took inspiration from that and I used a tambourine on my foot. You can get ones that strap to your shoe and you kind of tap
Yeah.
and you play at the same time. So that way you don't need to have the backing tracks, because the backing tracks don't really, they're fun, but to be a professional musician and to move up the ladder in skills and
Sure.
all that sort of stuff.
And also to be able to improvise like you talked about.
Yeah.
If you're playing a backing track, you got to start it, stop at this time,
Yeah,
etc.
it's very, this is how you play the song, but without the backing tracks I can make it longer, shorter, make the solos different. Yeah.
Okay. So you talked about your song that you were writing that you're coming here to record. So tell me a little bit about, when did you start writing your own songs? Did that start right away or did that come later?
So it's my first original song I've ever wrote.
Okay.
And I wrote it maybe we were only given 3 months to get ready to come here. So maybe like 3 months ago I started writing it. And it's about like a lot of people on my Facebook page and everywhere tell me that kids can't play the blues. So it's kind of a song to tell them that they're wrong.
All right. So that happens a lot. Blues, there's a preservation of the blues, and there's kind of an idea of what the blues is, and it's kind of stuck in the 1950s a little bit.
Yeah.
So how do you respond to that? That can be discouraging. When you hear that, does that give you drive? Does that make you want to prove yourself a little bit more?
Well, to be honest, I don't really see that a lot.
Well, good.
Because I'm not on the Facebook, so I'm not allowed to.
Yeah, never read the comments. Never read the
I'm
comments.
not allowed on social media, so I don't read that, and my dad does all that.
Okay.
Although some people think they're talking to me.
Right. Well, and it's you get a lot. So there's a movie that I love. I mention it in every now and then called Crossroads. It came out in the 80s. And it's got Ralph Macchio, the Karate Kid, which, I don't know if you know who that is.
Yeah.
But he's in his end. It's about him wanting to be a blues man and stuff like that. And they kind of tease him a little bit because they say, you're a lightning boy. You got a little bit of lightning, but you got no mileage. You don't have the mileage. You haven't been around to do those things. But, we're also now in, 2024. So we have the internet. We have this. We have air conditioning. We have that. We're not suffering that same way. But everybody has troubles. A lot of times they say, the blues ain't nothing but a good person feeling bad.
Yeah.
So, and some people can make you feel bad by saying you shouldn't be playing the blues, and that's your way of responding, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So are we just doing the one song? You got a couple other songs? You can maybe do a couple of covers on there as well?
So it's going to be like the one original song.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only one I've written. And then there's going to be another song on the back.
Okay.
Of that. So the new single released and another song.
Okay.
Go with it.
And about how long did it take you to write it?
3 months.
3 months? Okay.
I don't know. I didn't sit down one day and just write the song. Just some lyrics popped into my head, and then I was doing it with my dad, so we kind of came up with stuff to keep it flowing, not just a bunch of gibberish words.
Right.
We got some advice over here in America how to make it a little bit better.
Okay.
So it was just kind of a work in progress.
So, has that felt like a good experience? You want to write more, or is that like you kind of like, oh, I gotta write another song?
Definitely, that's definitely good.
All right, so we're gonna have a full album next time. All right. So, tell me a little bit about. I do want to know a little bit more about Australia. We were talking offline about in the International Blues Competition, we had Frank Sultana came down there, and Charlie Bedford. Some people have come from Australia and won the IBC. But obviously, it's a very small community, large country, small community, small blues community. So, how do you find the blues community there? Is there a lot of blues players, or is it
Well, here in the United States, there is 330 million people, where, I don't know, close to that, whereas in Australia there's like 30 million, so here everything's on a much larger scale. Right. So there'd be like, say, I don't know, like 100 people that like the blues here, and then there would be like 20 in Australia.
And they're all unhappy. No. You're not going to live that one down.
The scales are much smaller.
Right.
So when you go to when you go to blues festivals, you see those, like, the same people everywhere.
Right. Very small community, tight-knit community.
Very small community, yeah. But here, there's a lot of variety. And that kind of goes for everything. There's a lot of variety in shops, and just because of the amount of people there are here.
Right.
There's a lot smaller in Australia.
What's been one of the more inspiring, like either a player you've seen or something, an experience you had while playing that you're like, this is great, this is going to inspire me and I'm going to take this back with me?
Well, it's kind of, it's weird, but on the stages in Australia, the big stages have the best players. And then there's the big main stage, and then the smaller stage,
right.
Then they're like the second best. Then it gets down to the really small stage with just a couple people, and they're
the
just
up-and-comers.
The up-and-comers, but whereas here, it's the big main stage, and they're just fabulous, and they're the most well-known. But also the smaller stage, they're also fabulous, but they're just not well-known.
Right.
So the quality of the playing here, that's definitely driving me.
And that's kind of inspired you, get your chops up
Yeah.
and things like that. Yeah, it's intimidating. Yeah, especially when you're in Nashville. In Nashville, there's a joke of anytime you're playing, there's half the crowd is doing this, and that's the best. That's the best. This look like this, like that's the best compliment you can get from another guitarist, because they're going, oh my gosh, I can't do that. They're jealous. But the blues community is very welcoming. That's a great thing we found with the blues community. So the International Blues Challenge, we submitted a band and a solo duo act and a youth act this year, and our band won. And the blues community has showed up for them because they give you all these gigs, but you have to get there yourselves. And people have contributed and said, come over and you can sleep with us and things like that. It seems like a really tight-knit community. Is that the same way in Australia, that people are like really happy to support the blues because there's so little of it there?
Well, yes, kind of. Definitely. They're everyone told me that when I was going into the music industry, they're all sharks and everyone hates each other and it's but it's kind of been the opposite for us.
Right.
All the musicians, they've been so welcoming. Like I was talking about Mini Marks before, and have you heard of the Hussy Hicks?
I have not. You've got to turn me on all these cool Australian bands.
They're fabulous Australians, and they bring me up on the stage a lot. They're just very welcoming, they're very helpful, and they just want to drive you and make you better. They don't want to be better than everyone else. They want to like push you up with them. So it's a very tight-knit community, yeah.
Okay. So being, as young as you are, do you have any friends your age that like the blues, or are they all into Taylor Swift or whatever? I don't know what the Australian version of Taylor Swift is.
It's Taylor Swift.
It's Taylor Swift. Okay.
My best friend loves Taylor Swift.
So, do they all go, what's this music you're playing? That's my dad's music.
They did in my my old school. I didn't really tell people I played just because it was like, ew, why? That was the kind of response I got, but I've moved to a new school now, and it's a more creative school.
Okay.
And they embrace it a lot better. So yeah, I've got a couple new friends that do music.
Okay. So if you meet a new friend and maybe they do music but they haven't really gotten to the blues yet, who would you introduce them to first? What song would you play them? All right, I'm going to convince you to listen to the blues. Listen to this song.
There wouldn't be a one song.
Okay.
I'm a detective.
All right.
Detect what people like.
All right.
And then I'm like AI. I generate the song that they're going to like the most in the blues.
Okay.
So there probably wouldn't be one song that I'd give them.
Gotcha. What kind of clues would you look for? So what would you ask them to kind of figure it out?
So first I'd see what music they play.
Okay.
And things that they like to talk about. Because if, say, they like to talk about painting, they'd like a song about art.
Okay.
Whereas if they like to talk about painting and you gave them a song about riding your bike, they wouldn't really connect as much.
Gotcha.
Sometimes you do connect with songs where the lyrics are just weird, but you've got a much higher chance of connecting with something that you care about.
Okay.
So that's something I'd introduce them to.
All right. So we record the song, and then we go home. what's next? What's after that? What happens now?
We get ready to come back again.
Come back again? Okay. So when you go back, when we were just talking about this, you now can say you are the international artist, Guitar Gem. And hopefully also, playing in places like Memphis and Clarksdale and Nashville, the home of the blues, the birthplace of the blues, and Music City, USA. You think that gives you a little clout when you go back? You get a little swagger to...
Yeah, a lot of artists, when they go overseas, say even if it's from America or they're from Australia, when they go overseas, they kind of you can put all the way from Australia, all the way from America, all the way from England, and it makes people go, oh, I haven't seen them before, maybe I'll go have a look.
Right.
So it just kind of gives you more buzz.
Sure.
I've definitely noticed that when I've said I'm from Australia, people are like, oh, that's interesting.
And so when you get home, you get to say, fresh off my American tour. And things like that. Okay. So I sure appreciate it. I know you guys got a lot going on and we don't want to keep you too long, but we really appreciate you sitting down and talking with us. Are you jamming anywhere this week, or are you pretty much just focused on getting the recording done?
Boogie Woogie Blues Bar tonight.
Okay.
I'm playing at
On
the
the
African American
Museum, yeah.
Museum.
Yeah, she's got tickets to go to that. The concerts
Nice.
and tickets, and she's going to perform in the foyer for a half an hour or so.
Very cool.
That's on Friday.
That's a very cool space. There's a really interesting, you go in and they have all the different types of music. And then they have these places where you can say, I like this, and you listen to it, and then it expands out and says, here's all the influences from that. And you can just kind of explore all the way through. And they've got a really good blues section that goes in there. So I think you'll really like that. And that's cool that you're getting to perform in the foyer there. Okay. Well, perfect. Well, again, thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you very much for having
We'll
me.
get all your links and all that stuff so people can find you and learn when you're coming back into town. And also, this is on the web, so all you unhappy Australian people, cheer up. I hope things get better down there. But thank you again, and we will see you soon. Thanks, everybody.